Hello. So it is holiday season, and just along with my pumpkin pies, another treat for holidays is carrot cake supreme. A number of years ago, we lived in Decatur. I would say probably I don't know 15 or so years ago. I planted carrots in the spring, and I sort of I don't know I forgot about them, but they remained in the ground in the fall, and so probably late summer they came up, and then I didn't harvest them. And when that cool weather started hitting that carrot, it changed the starches into sugars, and I harvested those carrots the next spring, and they were awesome. The sweetest carrots. They were I don't know 2.5 inches in diameter, huge carrots, and I was expecting them to be woody, but they weren't. And so we needed things to make out of carrots, and we made a carrot cake. And since then, about 2019, I was looking in this Southern Living book. I'm a big fan of Southern Living, and they had what's called a carrot cake supreme. And so that's what I've been making since then. About every year I make, I don't know, some years I believe I've made up to 6 of these things. But Carrot Cake Supreme out of Southern Living. If you look it up on the website, do a Google search for it, you'll probably come up with a recipe on Southern Living's page called Best Carrot Cake. It's the same cake. So I'm using it out of this book because this is what I'm familiar with. And I'm going to show you everything that I do to make this cake. And this cake is awesome. People who don't even like carrot cakes and don't like carrots really like this cake. It's very moist. It has pineapple in it that gives it some moistness. But I think one of the biggest secrets is the buttermilk glaze that you pour over it, and that it just sets it off. So the cake is moist, and the icing is really good. So bear with me. This will be a long one. I'll try to talk through about everything I know about how to make this cake, so that you too can make a good carrot cake supreme. First thing you got to do is prepare your pans. Okay, it's a 3-layer cake, so you need 3 pans. I have 3 pans. It's best if you use pans from the same vendor. We don't. This pan's from a different vendor. It's slightly different metal, probably. The cakes won't cook all consistently unless you've got pans from the same vendor. That way you're sort of assured that they're all the same pan. This is a 9-inch pan. I have found different ways. What you do, you grease the pan and then put parchment paper in it and then grease the parchment paper. We'll talk about why you do that in a second. And what do you grease it with? Well, my mama always greased pans. It doesn't say this in the recipe. With Crisco. I mean, when we were growing up, I had a big old tub of Crisco over in the kitchen, and that's what we use. So this we might use Crisco 2 times a year. Most of the times it's for me to grease these pans, and that's about it. But you grease them with a Crisco, and then you put a light coat of flour in them, and then you're ready. Just set them to the side. You will have grease on the pan, your parchment paper, and then grease on the parchment paper, and then the flour. And what I've taken to lately is cutting out a disc the size of the pan and setting it in there, and then just I've cut out strips to make it on the side. I used to just fold it in, and what it does, it makes divots in the cake as the cake bakes, and you have to fill it with icing. Not a big deal because icing's good. Frosting, I'm sorry. So that's the pans. Next thing you got to do is prepare your dry ingredients. It takes 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking soda. It's all-purpose flour, sorry. A half teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. And mix all that up, and that's your dry ingredients. So you got those ready. And then you're ready to start with your mixer. And your next ingredients all go in the mixer. You got 3 large eggs. These are store-bought eggs. They didn't come from our chickens, but it's okay. 2 cups of sugar. 3/4 cup vegetable oil. It is an oil-based cake.
Are the eggs at room temperature
Yeah, the eggs were at room temperature. I let them come up to room temperature just because when I bake with eggs, I tend to like them to be at room temperature. I usually use, fresh eggs, but I'll take them out and they set on the counter for a couple of hours to come up to temperature. This buttermilk. Another good thing about this cake is it uses buttermilk, and buttermilk makes things better. So those 4 ingredients are in the mixer, and then we're just going to mix those up a little bit. Just on slow, let them mix up a little bit till it's smooth. So that's a smooth mix there. And then you want to add your flour mixture. So we'll just slowly add a little bit of flour at a time. And then I'll turn the mixer back on and let that mix in. Then you'll put in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. All right, let me scrape that down a little bit. Okay, so now we're finished with our mixer. We've got everything mixed together, and we're ready to fold in our next set of ingredients, which is really, I guess, the vegetables and fruits. And nuts, yeah. All right, so we got a smooth mix here. A little bit of arrant flour running around. Smooth mix. And to that, we're going to add a cup of chopped pecans. The pecans, okay, don't buy your pecans chopped. Buy your pecans half, and then just use your food processor to chop them yourself. They're more expensive if you buy them chopped, which makes sense because you're paying somebody else to do something that you could do. 2 cups of grated carrot. This is grated fresh carrot. So, at the store you can buy carrots that come pre-grated. Don't get those. The only thing they're good for is to feed little rabbits. So, grate your own carrots. Get your box grater out and use it and grate your own carrots. It'll make your cake more flavorful because it seems like there's more sugars in there, and more moist because you're grating an actual carrot that has moisture in it. If you buy those little grated sticks in a bag, they don't have much moisture in them. You need 8 ounces of pineapple. This is let me see, it's crushed pineapple without the juice. So pour your juice off, drink your juice, use your juice to make a smoothie, something like that, but don't put it in your carrot cake. And then you need this is 3.5 ounces of coconut. The recipe, which is, I don't know, probably 25, 30 years old, calls for a canned coconut. I don't know that I've ever really seen canned coconut. I use it in a bag, and it's then I just weigh it out 3.5 ounces on my scale. I've never used canned coconut. I always just use this. And you're supposed to fold this into your mixture. So you added all of those vegetables and fruits and nuts, and you just fold it in. And you come up with a, what would this be called? I don't know, mixture, I guess. But it's your vegetables and fruits and stuff get sort of suspended in that flour mixture, the batter. You can see how it's all, you can see carrots and everything in there. I did not preheat the oven. So let me turn the oven on. So I got the oven warming up. That just means that I'll be here longer. And then we got our pans. Now, I've told myself year after year that one of these days I'm going to actually weigh this and divide it into thirds by weight, but I always forget to figure out how to do that. I should have weighed this bowl, mixed everything together, weighed it again, then I know how much the mixture is. But because really when you're making a layer cake, you want all the layers to be about the same thickness. I've got a little device that lets me, cut the top off or something. Sometimes the top will be a little bubbled up, and so that sometimes I'll use that to fix the thickness problem. But what I'll do is put a little bit in each pan and sort of shake it down, and then guesstimate that they all have about the same amount. All right, so there we are, 3 9-inch cake pans with the batter in them, ready to go in the oven. When it gets the temperature, I'm going to pop them in there, 350 for about 25 to 30 minutes. And so you'll use toothpick method to check them, see if they're done. At about 20 minutes after they're cooking, I'm going to start the buttermilk glaze. And that way when the cakes come out of the oven, they'll still be warm. My glaze will be ready, and you'll see we'll pour the warm glaze onto the warm cakes, and it sort of soaks in there. It's not a poke cake. You don't poke holes in it, let it soak. You just pour it on top of it, and it just soaks into that warm cooked batter, actually cooked cake, and it's really good. So we'll be back when we get ready to make the glaze. Okay, so we're now ready to make the buttermilk glaze to go in the carrot cake supreme. You pour it over the top of it. And this is all in the Southern Living book that I use. So buttermilk glaze, 5 ingredients in the Dutch oven, and we're going to boil them up to a glaze, right? So I'm going to turn the Dutch oven on. I'm starting with 1 cup of sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, 1/2 cup of buttermilk, and I've started this glaze about 5 minutes until the cakes are supposed to be done. And so my wonderful bride, is going to check the cakes and pull them out when they're ready. And then you need 1/4 cup of butter, actually a 1/2 cup. So let me get another 1/2 stick. This is I use unsalted butter when I'm baking, unless it specifies and asks for salted butter. So there's the butter, Karo syrup, the light variety. This is going to be 1 tablespoon, and this sort of gets messy because it's syrup. Tablespoon of syrup. Got to get that off my finger. Stir it up a little bit as that butter's starting to melt. And then we'll save that vanilla, and we'll add the vanilla after we've made the glaze. So now I'm just going to stir this, and what I'll do, I'll move you guys over here so you can see down into the pan as we cook this glaze down. Because what we're going to do after everything gets melted, it'll be a little bit frothy, and it's going to be frothy, and we're going to constantly move it around until we can see it starting to turn golden colored. So got the heat on. We're going to boil it for 4 minutes, and then it'll. I mean, you'll see it start turning gold. I'm guessing it's the baking soda in here reacting with the buttermilk that's making this, that makes it sort of bubbly like this. But after we finish, we'll remove from the heat, and it'll really turn to a liquid, so it won't be this bubbly. While I'm doing this, and you're watching it and waiting on it to turn golden, one of my most fond memories of this cake is probably 5-6 years ago. We were making the cake. I was making the cake for we make it at church. We have this thing called Lottie Moon Cafe where all the donations go to Lottie Moon. But I'd made this cake, and we like it. We love it. It's a great cake, and I took one to the church, and there was, I like to hang around and tease the youth, right? And so, I told the youth that I was going to bring a carrot cake, and I wanted them to try it. And they said, "Ooh, I don't like carrots. We don't like carrot cake." And so I actually had to take a slice over to their table, and I sort of, well, I wouldn't say begged, but I made it clear that they really needed to try the cake, and they did, and they loved it. And I tell you, for the next 3 or 4 years, I made carrot cake supreme for a lot of those youth's birthdays. So it's a good memory. You might hear people that say they don't like carrot cake, but if they try this carrot cake supreme, I'll bet you they'll like it. Now you can see now it's sort of turning golden. You see that color? And what that is it's cooking, and it's starting to turn gold. And so we're about to turn off the heat and let it start cooling, and it'll liquefy. This is a Dutch oven. It retains heat very well. I use it, well, I mean, the recipe says to use the Dutch oven, but I use it rather than a metal pot because of that heat retention. And my bride has pulled the cakes out, so they're slightly cooling over there on a rack. And in just a minute, when this settles on down, we are going to move this glaze over and pour it over that cake, and it's very good. I'm going to go ahead and add my vanilla at this stage. I need about a teaspoon. Vanilla, I use a lot of vanilla, and it's really easy to make. One of these days, I've got some making right now. When I get it ready, I'll make a video and show you how to make your own vanilla. It is much more flavorful than what you can buy at the store, and it's really easy and cost effective as well, because you'll be surprised how much vanilla you can get compared to buying a 2 or 3 ounce jar at a store. All right, so it's starting to liquefy a bit, and it'll the bubbles have settled down, and so now she's ready to pour over the top of our cakes. So we'll move over there and do that. You want to help me? This is where you really need somebody, a good bride like I have, to help you with this because it's kind of hard to hold this Dutch oven and pour it at the same time. So you can see it there. We're going to pour it out just a little bit at a time. She's going to smooth it over and let it start absorbing down into that warm cake. And me on this side. Now that glaze will actually soak all the way to the bottom of the cake. Need more here? You can talk. And it'll soak all the way to the bottom of it. I think that's part of the reason that you want the parchment paper, you know, greased on the pan side and the cake side. That way it helps you separate all that when we go to pull the cakes out of the pans. So you can see this one, the first one we did, you know, it's a little bit sticky on the surface, and that glaze has soaked down into that cake. You can see there, if you remember how much batter was in the pans when we put them in the oven, you can see how it rose. You know, it didn't overflow the pan, but, you know, the cake did rise. And that is the buttermilk glaze on top of the cakes. And so what will happen now, we'll let them sit there about 20 minutes or so, just in the pan as they are. And then I'll take them, move them off the rack and invert them onto the rack, peel the parchment paper off, and then flip them back over so that they're, you know, the glaze side up, or, you know, the non-pan bottom side up. And then you need to let them cool completely before you put your frosting on them. And so generally what I do is I will cool them overnight. So this is one of those 2-day cooking processes for me, sort of like smoking meat. It takes a while. So I will let these guys sit overnight on the cooling rack. I'll cover them up with a tea towel. And then tomorrow, when they're good and cool, I will mix up my deluxe buttercream frosting and apply that to it, and we'll see how that works. So thanks for joining. We'll see you actually tomorrow. Welcome back. Okay, so I think earlier I said that this cake takes a deluxe buttercream frosting. I was wrong in that. It's actually a deluxe cream cheese frosting, and really the difference between the two that I'm looking at in my cookbook is the buttercream frosting has milk in it, and cream cheese doesn't. So who knew? But anyway, if you look on the website, you know, I told you earlier that the carrot cake takes on the website it's called Best Carrot Cake, and what I call it according to the cookbook is Carrot Cake Supreme. The website actually gives you the recipe for a cream cheese frosting. In this book, the Southern Living book that I have here, it has 2 cream cheese frosting. One of them is called Deluxe, and what makes it Deluxe is there's more cream cheese and more butter. Same amount of powdered sugar, a little bit more vanilla extract, but it's called Deluxe, and that's what I've always used, and it is really good. So how do you make it? Cream cheese. I use Philadelphia cream cheese right now because that's what they got in the store. And I think growing up, that's what Mama always used. So that's what we use. You need The regular recipe calls for 1 pack. Deluxe calls for a pack and 3 more ounces. And so this is the 3 more ounces. A total of 11 ounces of Philadelphia cream cheese, or the cream cheese of your choice. But I would challenge you to find some as good as Philadelphia cream cheese. Anyway, butter, regular recipe calls for a stick of butter, which is a 1/2 cup. But this recipe wants you add another 1/2 cup. So we'll do that. And that's your sort of semi-solids, if you will. I've had this stuff sitting out overnight. It's okay. The butter will be fine sitting out overnight. It's not going to hurt you. Neither is cream cheese. I know it says refrigerator after open, but you need it to be soft. The next thing you need is sifted powdered sugar. Now this powdered sugar is sifting things. Okay, I've got the sifter right here. You can see static electricity keeps some of the powdered sugar on the side of it. But you need to sift it, because if you don't, you'll have little lumps in there. And those lumps are hard to come out. You want this deluxe cream cheese frosting to be really smooth. And so you need to sift it. I sifted it into a bowl, weigh it out. And it is the consistency of the dust that I had to put up with in Afghanistan. In 2004, I was over there. We were building roads. And, you know, your vehicles would drive across it, and you just pounded that dirt into this powder. It's sort of another place I've seen this is National Training Center in California in Mojave Desert. I mean, it's like a powder, just goes everywhere. So be prepared to get powdered sugar all over you. You probably see a little bit on my shirt, because that's what happens when you're dealing with powdered sugar. So we've got the powdered sugar. We've got the solids in here. I'm going to turn this guy on and let him start mixing up a little bit, and then I'm going to add my sugar a little bit at a time until we get some cream. Let's see, it is called cream cheese, deluxe cream cheese frosting. So let's put some powdered sugar in there. We'll start her back up. Let that get mixed in. Now, this, you notice that you know, 2 of the main ingredients to this frosting is the butter and the cream cheese, and both those should be refrigerated. So this frosting is at room temperature now. As we start to use it, it's going to warm up, because we're going to have our hands around it and that kind of stuff, especially if you put it in a piping bag. And so you need to have a place in the refrigerator where you can set it and let it cool back off, because what does butter do when it gets warmed up? It gets a little soft, and same thing's going to happen to your frosting. So just work with it. You'll notice when it starts getting a little bit loose, if you will, and then you need to put it in the refrigerator and let it firm up some. It'll be okay. Just go with it. I'm not the best cake decorator. I have watched videos and things like that. I think I even took like an online cake decorating class. But I'm very bad at piping. I'm not so bad at spreading and that kind of stuff. But anyway, we'll get through it. So I'm going to make this frosting and show it to you. And then I'll get prepared to start applying some to some cake. All right, so that is the deluxe cream cheese frosting. It is light. You know, it's not grainy or anything. It's going to be pretty good on that carrot cake. So let me set up to get ready to start applying some to the cake, and we'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I moved around, so now we're ready to start applying the frosting we just made to the cake. Let me correct a few things I said earlier. Buttercream frosting versus cream cheese frosting. My bride corrected me after I turned off the video. She was listening. Buttercream frosting, I did look it up. It does not have cream cheese in it. It has milk instead. And so maybe that's why I like this frosting better, because it is cream cheese frosting, and I really like a good cheesecake. And so maybe it's that cream cheese in it that makes me like it. So that's one thing. Second, I forgot to put my vanilla in. I have done that. It takes about 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. So I've got that now added. I did put this while I was preparing all this. The frosting went into the refrigerator to chill a little bit so that it's more firm, and we're ready to go. So I've got the 3 cakes that I cooked yesterday. Now what you got to do is assemble them in a stack. And so you want the stack to come out as square, as firm as you can, so you want it to stand up straight, right? And so when you cook, or I found when I cook this cake, generally sometimes, all the time, some pans, I'm cooking 3 different pans, the cake batter will be higher on one end than the other. You saw me put it in there, sort of shake it around and try to level it out. But for some reason, I hadn't figured out why it's not quite even. And so you got to get down and look at your cakes and sort of see what the surface looks like. Say if we said this countertop was level, you can look across the cake and I see that this one's low on this side, this one's low on this side, and this one's pretty even all across. So you got to decide what you're going to do. You do need to start with a good foundation, right? And so all things start with a good foundation. So what I've done, I need to tell you about these two. I struggled for years with moving the cakes as I'm decorating, getting ready, and that kind of stuff. And then Hobby Lobby carries these things, so you can just buy this cardboard thing. I guess it's and it's a cake thing, and it fits on my little cake stand. It's a rotating cake stand I can use to decorate. I've got one of these lifters, and I still use it, but I used to have to try to slide this guy underneath it and move the cakes and all, but it's much easier if you got one of these things. The other thing I do is just something that I do. I tear off me a little piece of parchment paper, and I put it on the low end underneath this guy. That way I know that this is the low end, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that cake and I'm going to put it on here, put some frosting on it, sort of make a mortar-like thing, if you will. And then I'm going to take this other cake and put it on here, and I want to make sure that I line up. If this one's low on this side, like this, I want to put this one that's also low on this side, but I want to turn it around so it's like this, and the low part's here, and that'll make the top surface a little more even, if that makes sense. You'll see as we do it. So I'm going to take this cake, and I'm going to place it on there, lining it up with the low end toward my little paper. And so I put it in the center here, put the bottom cake sitting on its bottom. This is the top as it cooked. You can see the bottom is, it's flatter. This is sort of the rough side. So put the bottom like that, so you got a good foundation. All right, and then you're going to take some buttercream or some cream cheese icing. That's actually cream cheese. And just put it on here. And then I use the little spatula to sort of spread that around. And I want to make sure that it gets, well distributed. It is pretty even. And that's why I've got this little thing that spins, my little decorating table, because I can sort of drag my spatula, hold it level, and just let that frosting move to the outside. Put a little bit more on there and do the same thing. Just sort of drag it on out and then drag it around. Dragging it toward the outside, getting a good layer, level as you can. It will, as we work with it, it'll warm back up, it'll get softer, and we may have to put the whole cake in the oven or in the refrigerator to cool it back down. So I'll hold my spatula here and just sort of level it out. You want to get it all to the edge, because it's kind of hard to cram the frosting in holes like that. So there we go. Got the frosting on there. Now I'm going to take this next piece of cake, the next cake layer, and you remember, this is the low side of that one. This is the high side of this one. So I want the high side lined with the low side. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip it over. So the first one is bottom down. The second one is top down. And what I'm trying to do is make the top of this second layer as flat as I can. All right, so I flipped it over. You know, this was the low side now. And low side goes away from my mark. And there she is. So she's sort of sitting there. You can just sort of eyeball it. Looks pretty firm. Now we need to apply some cream cheese frosting to that one for the in-between layer, the mortar. We want to put some more in there, spread it around. Don't worry if you're using too much cream cheese frosting, you can actually just make some more. All right, so there we go with that layer. And now we're going to put the last layer on it. Again, we put that second layer upside down so the flat spot is up. Now, the top of this one is sort of wavy, right? Because it baked in the oven. The bottom is more flat. We want the top of the cake to be as flat as we can. So what we're going to do is flip this guy upside down. He's pretty level, you know, as far as left and right and that kind of stuff. So we're going to flip him upside down to try to give us a flat surface on top and lay him down there just like that, lining up all the way around. Sort of pat him down a little bit. He's pretty flat. So that's the 3 layers stacked. Now the next thing you got to do is what they call a crumb coat. And so I've actually messed up a little bit, but it'll be okay. You should take a little bit of the frosting out of your bowl to use, because what you want to do, you want to make sure that while you're applying a crumb coat is that first application. It's real thin, and what you're trying to do is seal in your cake. As I was applying that onto the layers, you know, if I could have drug a little bit of crumb off the cake and gotten in my frosting bowl. You don't want that to happen. And so really what you should do is take you another bowl, take your spatula that never touches the cake, and put your frosting that you're going to use in here, and then your spatula that always touches the cake, it never gets in that frosting, so you don't have a chance of getting crumbs off your cake into your frosting. Because as you build your frosting, you don't want crumbs to be on the outside. You want it to be all frosting, right? So I'm going to take this, and I'll use this instead of out of that. And I'm just going to apply a thin layer to sort of seal in the crumbs, and that's what they call a crumb layer. And so it'll go all around. We'll spread this out that's squeezed out between the layers. We'll spread that out a bit. Get a little bit more frosting. You can see, I don't know if you can see it, but right there is a piece of crumb that came off of that cake. And if I'd have put that back in my big bowl, then I'm running a chance of later it being down in there, and next thing you know, I've got crumbs on the outside of my cake. And you don't want that. You want clean, just frosting showing on the outside of your cake. So apply this crumb layer. It's going to sort of seal it in. We will take the cake after we get the crumb layer on, and we're going to put it in the refrigerator to let that frosting sort of set. Here's some more into our other bowl so we don't contaminate the frosting bowl. And I'm going to spread some on the outside here. All right. So now we have the crumb coat applied. And so we're sort of trying to seal in all those crumbs. And we will take this guy, put him in the refrigerator, let that sort of firm up as it cools down. And then we'll bring him back out and put the rest of the frosting on him. Be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back. The cake is set in the refrigerator with the crumb coat on it for a little while, and it's cooled down. That allows that initial crumb coat layer to frosting to sort of settle on the cake. I did put the frosting back in the refrigerator for a little while to keep it cool, because as you know, we're in, I don't know, 70, 71 degrees or something in here, and that butter and cream cheese will soften up as it warms. And so we're now going to completely cover the cake with the frosting. So we'll do that now. I like to start at the top. I don't know, I'm not a cake decorator, but I'll start at the top, do a good layer up there, and then I'll go down the sides. I don't know why I do that. So I've globbed some on there, and I'm just dragging my knife through as I turn it to pull that layer of frosting to the outside. I did talk a little bit about the stand. My bride's whispering to me there. I think I got this stand for Christmas one year. I don't remember. But before, I would try to do this, and you got to work your way around the cake, and it's just sitting there. And they sell these little rotating stands, and they're really good for decorating cake. I think that's actually what they are, is a cake decorating stand. Not a display stand or something you serve off of. You could. I don't know that we have, but it's really good to allow you to do things like what I'm doing right now, where I spread that frosting on the side of the cake and just rotate the cake, and I can hold my spatula flat, and it sort of firms up the side to spread that frosting really good. So it works really well for that. Just bear with me. You see the good, the bad, and the ugly about me spreading frosting on a cake. I think it comes with practice, right? A lot of things in life, you do them a lot, you'll get better at them. Some people are naturally talented. The more you decorate cakes, the better off your cake decorating will be. And maybe I just don't do it enough. A couple of things while I'm doing this. I like to talk. Frosting and icing. Okay, what we're applying right now is a frosting. It is a semi-solid structure. It's like a cream, if you will. An icing, it runs, so it's more of a liquid kind of thing. And a frosting, you spread it. So that's my understanding of the difference between a frosting and an icing. And if people say they've iced the cake, if they've applied something like what we're putting on, they actually frosted the cake. They didn't ice it. So to just stop there. There was a youth when we were in Decatur over at church over there, that really sweet girl. She wound up, last time we saw her, she was working at Edgar's Bakery as a cake baker, decorator person. She could probably tell me how to really do this really well, but I hadn't talked to her in a number of years. Edgar's Bakery, they do good cakes. All right, so I've just about finished frosting this side, and you can tell if you're looking at it as it spins around, you might see that I don't have all of the side you know, you can still see a little bit of brown through the frosting. That's okay, because my next thing I'm going to do is sort of, I don't know if it pretties it up, but it'll change a little bit of that. So there we go. All right, now that's pretty much frosted. I mean, I could probably put some more on it and make it thicker and all white, and you won't be able to see these. You see this little brown line right here. But I'm ready to move on with this because I got to do another one. These cakes are going to Lottie Moon Cafe, a little thing at church. The proceeds go to the International Mission Board Lottie Moon Fund. And so the end customer will actually just get a slice of cake. So they won't really see what the whole cake looks like. And I'm not a commercial cake baker, so you know I'm not going to make it. You know, I can't make it look like Eckers does. But what I do like to do, this is ground pecans. I told you yesterday when we take those pecans, we chop them to buy the half pecans and then chop them in yourself. I think I actually bought these from a place in Troy, Alabama, but they were cheaper. They were on sale, and so that's why I got them. But it's just little ground pecans. And so what I like to do is I take a bowl because it's going to get messy, and I don't want to, you know, contaminate my pecans in my jar. So I'll pour some out in a bowl, and what I'm going to do is apply the ground pecans to the side of the cake. It's going to sort of cover up some of that spot like that, and it'll make it look pretty, make it look different, adds a little bit of crunch to the side. And so just take a little handful, just like that, put your hand down at the bottom, just sort of rub it on there, right? See how it sort of stuck to it? Grab some, do it again. You know, as you go up, you're going to need to clean that off, and you can reuse that. You know, all this stuff's clean. It's not like you dropping it on the ground or anything. And then go all the way around the cake, just putting those ground pecans on it. So I'll do that, and we'll speed this up. All right, so that's the ground pecans on the outside of the cake. I'm just going to go through and sort of knock some of these on the edge off back into my bowl, and I'm going to put some on the next cake I do too. So I'll reuse that. Sometimes I will do candied carrot curls. I'm not going to do that today for essence of time. They'll just look like this. It'll be fine. As the customer gets a slice of cake, it'll have pecans on the outside. The other one I might put pecans on the top, not on the outside. You know, but that's it. Carrot cake supreme. It's really good. Get a lot of raves about it. Even teenagers that don't normally like to eat their vegetables like the carrot cake supreme. Appreciate y'all joining me. Sorry this took so long, but you know, making things from scratch is really what works for me mostly. All right, I need to get to work on that next one.